All right, welcome to the Wyld Farm Family Fun Show. On this show, we talk about everything farm, food, family, and most importantly, fun. We always bring on some awesome guests from around the world doing some amazing things around any of those areas, and then end the show with Chef Nick in the kitchen and his awesomeness. And you, as our audience, go home with not only some cooking and prep tips, which are fascinating to me, especially like how to slice a bell pepper into a chandelier. So if you didn't catch that one, make sure you go back into the episode around that. But yes, we dive into those, and a lot of the recipes are inspired from our guests and our new Daddy program, our Daddy Cooking in the Kitchen with Dads program that we're building. Nick, how are you?
Happy Tuesday, Troy, and I am doing fantastic. Greetings from Nashville. We arrived 4:30-ish in the morning, Monday morning, so we had an all-night, 13-hour drive through the grand state of Illinois for the most part. But I am doing great. And it's a beautiful day here in Nashville, and really grateful to be on the show with you. And we just talking backstage, I'm really excited to dive into Frank's story. Seems like he's got a lot of great energy and fun. And so I know we're going to learn a lot from him. But Troy, also backstage, I found out that you sent me a ripstick. So can't wait to maybe start a brand new series of the Ripstick Chef, where you have to cook on the ripstick. So we're going to work on that. But how are you today, and what is present with you, brother?
Good. So for context for our listeners that will be joining us either today or through our podcast or on YouTube, the ripstick thing comes from myself as getting one because my kids wanted me to ripstick, which is a maneuvering skateboard, if you want to call it that. It's pretty challenging. And so Nick challenged me to do a video of it. We recorded that. I didn't wipe out, thankfully. But then I challenged Nick. I told him I would send him one and make him actually prep in the kitchen for a couple shows while on the ripstick. So that has arrived to his home in Minnesota. He's actually, in Nashville today, but we'll catch a show with some ripsticking in the future here.
Yes.
But yeah, what's present with me? Just enjoying family time, man. It's always learning how to adapt to a now family of four, and it's starting to get nicer in Michigan here. So just making the most of with the kids and food and farm and fun and everything. So.
Awesome. What was the biggest? I know that you are a regular at the farmers market at weekends. What was your haul like this weekend? What was what was your biggest find this weekend with you and your kids?
Yeah, we actually didn't make it. One, because I had a minor procedure done, so I had to rest for a little bit, which was interesting for me because I'm on the go crazy dad all the time. So we didn't make it this time to the market, but we will make it next time. I'll make sure that I load up on the farm goods and then share it with you as always, man.
Beautiful. Well, shall we bring on Sir Frank here?
Absolutely. So just like always, we always find some awesome guests doing some amazing things out there in the world. I think what you're going to find about not only Frank and, like Nick mentioned, his energy and his background, but what he's really doing in the world is very fascinating. I just watched a video and started to learn a little bit more about what their company does, Harvest Harmonics. And I think you are going to be curious about this too, whether you're a farm or you're just somebody interested in farm food. And so I'm really excited to bring Frank Arlia Jr. up on the show. Welcome, Frank.
Ciao. I have to tell you, first of all, thank you for the introduction. Thank you for having me on your show. But as both of you were speaking and talking about the current events, I had this idea that, okay, this ripstick was delivered to Troy, and Troy something happened with it, and now he had to have a procedure. So, and Nick is going to be the next one on the line. And somewhere down the road, they're going to send me a ripstick, and if I get on that thing, I'm going to need a procedure. 3 or 4 days later.
Oh man, I didn't even connect those dots, but that's awesome. Yeah, maybe I had some calf muscles work done so that I could get my speed in there, so I can race the game.
There you go. There you go. Anyway, thank you, gentlemen, for having me on. This looks like a really fun place to be. This show, and
yeah,
I mean, I'm ready to answer any questions or tell you a little bit about what we're doing, and it's always fun to be part of a fun crowd.
Yeah, so let's start from, well, Nick usually interludes with a fun question, and then we'll dive into your story. So Nick, take it away.
Yeah, well, Frank, thank you so much again. Troy and I in our community are super grateful to have you join us, and I do know that you take your kids to Southern Italy to meet your grandmother or your mother growing up. And
half my family's in Southern Italy.
Oh wow, okay. So
like the entire family, like my mom's side and my dad's side, they met in the same town, they married, and they shipped off to America on a boat. And I'm first generation American. And it's been since I'm a kid, I keep traveling back to Italy. So I was always on the family farm, which eventually some of them, put it this way. I learned how to make wine when I was 6 years old. And when I go back to Italy, and I talk to my cousins in Italy, they're like, make wine? We buy it at the store. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like this is Italy. You should be making wine. Don't give up that fantastic heritage, Don't. And they're like, no, we just buy it at the store. And I'm like, oh my God. It's just amazing how things change. But I would take my kids back every 2 years, and I did it. I did it actually until I started this company in 2014. When we pushed this company, the kids were getting older, and I had taken them on one more trip, and then after that, it's been like we've been working 7 days a week for the last 7 years, basically to help farmers.
Wow.
So
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, we're super excited to have you. You've got some wonderful energy to share, and we're really excited to dive into not maybe some of your history in on the farm in southern Italy with your family and what you're doing now, but bienvenido, because I do know one word in Italian. So,
Benvenuto.
So Frank, to kick us off today, where are you calling from? And if you would mind sharing with us, like, what's a fun fact about you that you'd like to share with us?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and I grew up in a pretty rough neighborhood where I have to tell you, some of us didn't make it. It was like that type of neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I wind up being, out of all my friends, the only one who went to school, wind up getting an education, graduated with an accounting degree, started an accounting firm, and then 25 years later, I had an epiphany, and I said, you know what, I have to move to Florida to be surrounded by farmers. But I wanted to move to a place that wasn't, so different from where I came from, as far as, quantity of people, like a town, but not a city. So I wind up relocating to Clearwater, Florida, where I'm surrounded by farmers on the north, the east, and the south. So it's just a little bit of traveling, and we go and I changed my entire life, just to that's one major fun fact.
Wow, that's amazing.
Something that's fun historically. My accounting firm, we just had our 96th case that we won against the government, and we have a knockout ratio so far of 96-0. We're really good at what we do, so we've never lost a case. And it's good because I'm no longer like running the accounting firm day by day, because I live here and the accounting firm is in New York. But I became like a consultant to my own firm. So they'll call me, every day or every other couple of days, and they'll ask me some questions, and I just advise them on how to handle things. And they keep doing that while I keep working with farmers. That's a fun fact.
Wow.
Awesome.
So you're like the Sugar Ray Robinson of the accounting world.
I love it. I love it. You should have a pair of boxing gloves sitting outside the accounting firm's office in New York. Your tagline.
Believe it or not, another fun fact: I self-taught myself boxing. So
yeah.
Well, it sounded like you grew up in a rough neighborhood in Brooklyn. So is that why you had to kind of teach yourself a little bit, or what?
Oh, absolutely. I had my first fight with Michael White. Michael White was his name in first grade. You know, and going to St. Brendan's Catholic Grammar School. So you learned early on that either you knew how to defend yourself or you got your butt kicked.
Yeah. Yo, so I have a cool, so my dad grew up like that. So he grew up in Albion, Michigan, and he was in fights every single day at school. So my grandpa taught him how to box. So he fought in the Junior Olympic Champion Series, fighting as a kid. Yeah. So boxing runs in my family. I mean, I love those stories because it actually not only taught him to tame his anger down, but he built respect with everybody because of the way that he carried himself and he stuck up for himself. And so those backgrounds and histories are awesome.
Absolutely. And then, by the way, I wind up going to 4 different high schools because of my, let's just say my abilities to defend the little guy. You know, in school there was always the bully who picked on, the people who couldn't defend themselves.
Yeah.
So I was the guy who beat the shit out of the bully.
Yes.
But I got myself in a lot of trouble with the principal's office, and eventually I had to switch to a few different high schools. So I went to 4 different high schools to graduate.
Well, it sounds like you built some respect though from the people that were getting bullied. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was a good experience. I'm glad to be alive to still talk about it.
Yes. Okay, so take us through that journey. So accounting, you still have a little bit of hand in it, but how do you get into Harvest Harmonics, into what you're doing now? How does that transition work?
So the story was it's a bittersweet story, but I'll just give it to you. In 2013, November of 2013, I got a phone call from I have 5 brothers and sisters, and one of them had called me up and said, "Hey, mom had a congestive heart failure attack and she's in the hospital." And I'm like, okay, fine. Parents are getting up in age. It's understandable. By December 2013, she had her second. So for those of you who don't know what congestive heart failure is, it's, and I don't know, do either one of you know what a congestive heart failure is?
Very minimal. And I think breaking it down for our audience would be great. So
it's basically when the heart stops beating correctly, like it's beating out of rhythm, okay, and it throws off the functioning of the lungs to the point that the lungs start to build up mucus because they're not properly dispelling liquids. And so what happens is the lungs start to congest, and that pressure throws the heart off, so you wind up having a heart attack. That's called a congestive heart failure, okay? Just a breakdown of the definition.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wind up saying to myself, I can't lose my mother. She's my best friend. She's been there to support me no matter what age. She was always there, And so this was 7 years ago. I'm like, I can't lose my mother, but there's no cure for this. So I started scouring the internet, reaching out to friends, calling up people in Italy. Long story short, one of my Italian friends recommended Biomedic Center in Como, Italy. So I said, okay, fine. Let me check them out. Checked out their website. I can read and write in Italian. I speak fluent Italian. So I sent them some communication. They sent me back some information. They said, look, send us all the medical records. We'll see what we can do. I translated all these medical records with a friend, sent it all over. They said, mom is in bad shape. If you get her here fast, we can help her. Otherwise, she was terminal. We knew she was terminal. So January, she had her 3rd congestive heart failure attack. So we already knew she had 3 to 4 months to live. My very loving, brothers and sisters, we had a family meeting where they were planning the funeral. And I'm like, I can't even think with this, but I came up with a solution. and that was this place in Italy. So when we had this family meeting, I had my mom there, and I said to her, I said, "Mom, you know you're dying, right?" And she says, "Yes." I said, "There's a possibility that there's a place in Italy that could save your life, except there's a bigger possibility that you would die on the plane because your body is so weak." I said, "So what do you want to do? Do you want to stay here and wait for death? Or do you want to go to Italy and take a chance that you may die on the plane, but if you survive, there may be a solution?" And my mom nodded her head and said, "Let's go to Italy." And I was, I got chills just telling you the story. And so there started the adventure. 7 bags and wheelchair, oxygen tanks, the whole 9 yards. I get my 7 luggages, and I get my mother on a plane. She survives the plane. We land in Italy on February 14, Valentine's Day, 2014. She's being evaluated. Within 1 hour on this special equipment, they found out exactly what was wrong with her, where it was coming from. And they told me that as long as we stayed there for 30 to 33 days, that she would leave a lot healthier and cured, So, of course, that's what we did. In those 33 days, I learned so much about all this other new technology I never even heard of before, and it's a medical technology that was used, and it's accepted as a real medical technology in Austria, Germany, and China. But the rest of the world just looks at it as like a general wellness technology. They don't look at it as actual medical stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm fascinated by this group and what they're doing in transforming my mom. My mom arrived in a wheelchair and oxygen tanks. She left with a walker and no oxygen.
Wow.
So it was a major transition. So what wound up happening is they were very curious how an accountant during tax season was in Italy and running his company in New York, and the owners were asking me a lot of business questions, and little did I know I was being interviewed. So throughout this 30-day process, I'm being interviewed. I'm being taken out to lunch. I'm being taken to dinner. My mom is being entertained. We became like friends, Long story short, they had other technologies that they wanted to know if I would help them to bring them to the world because they were too busy saving lives in this medical center. They had no wherewithal or understanding on how to bring these technologies or who to entrust them to. So they started to build some trust with me during that period that I was there. All this technology was fascinating. They had stuff for water. They had stuff for anti-aging, beauty products, all kinds of stuff. Diet program that's amazing, Like, okay. And I said, what else do you have? And they said, oh, well, we have an agricultural technology, but it's not ready yet. And I said, show it to me. So they show it to me. And I see this baby lemon trees with like 7 lemons on it. And I'm like, okay, I know lemon trees from Italy, that small, that young, they don't have 7 lemons on them. That's like unheard of.
Yeah.
I'm like, show me what else you have. And they start showing me pictures and things that they had on their terrace that they were growing. And I'm like, this is fascinating stuff. Then they showed me a poinsettia. You guys know what a poinsettia is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You take a poinsettia grows outside. You bring a poinsettia inside during the holidays, it's going to live for 3-4 weeks and it's going to die because it's just beautiful for the holidays, but it cannot survive indoors. It has to be outdoors, right? They showed me a poinsettia that was living indoors that he was experimenting for the last 5 years that was growing the size of my desk. I have a 5-foot wide desk. This poinsettia was a monster. I have a picture of it still, right? So I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. You just did that using this technology. I said, yeah, that's all they did. So I said, okay, I want that. They said, well, it's not ready yet. I said, I don't care. You saved my mother's life. I will do anything you want. You asked me to help you. I want to help you with the agricultural technology, and I will fund the remaining research to finish it.
Wow, amazing.
Now, I didn't know at the time that the funding to finish the research was going to cost me millions and millions and millions of dollars. I didn't know that at the time, but I wind up borrowing a lot of money.
Oh, sure.
Leveraging all my properties in New York, but at the end of the day, I made it go right. It went well. We finished the technology, and in October 19, 2019, the final technology was finished. All the testing was done. Everything was finished. We had done all our internal testing. We were ready to rock and roll. And we had a technology that now could service any farm, any size, anywhere in the world, provided they irrigate it.
Yes.
Anywhere. And we've been everywhere. Okay? So what wind up happening is we took the technology and we started selling it. And 2020, in the year of COVID, was our first year outside the starting gates, and we were actually profitable.
Yeah.
We did really well. We opened up 18 countries, and now we're targeting another. We're going to be at 26, possibly 27 countries before the end of this year.
Yeah.
And literally, it's an expensive. It was expensive to develop. It's costly to deploy, but it's affordable. It's super affordable compared to everything else that's out there. We are very competitive on the cost side. We've actually come up with a program that we can service any farmer, even the commodity guys, like the corn growers, the soybean growers. And the way we're servicing the guys that grow commodities in large quantities, because they don't have very good margins. They don't make a lot of money per acreage. So for them to afford us on our standard pricing would not be workable. But with the quantity, we can afford to make very, very little money, and help them. But it's still unbelievable for them. So we came up with a program called a profit share program. And the way we do it is we tell the farmer, hey, as long as we can make you more money, all right? Like you take a 5-year average and the guy makes $500 an acre, every year consistently for the last 5 years. So we say, okay, if we got you a 20% increase or a 25% increase, and we got you an extra $125 per acre, and we were able to have an agreement that we would split that, 70-30, 60-40, whatever the agreement is, right? And we would just take a portion of the profits, extra profits, not the profits, but extra profits that we generated for you. Would you consider using our technology so that you can make more money and we can help you? Because ultimately that's why the technology was developed, to help farmers. And so now we have like lots of farmers signing up for this program because they don't have to really lay out any money. It's a minimal upfront costs. They get the benefit of this technology, and we get to help more and more farmers. I mean, we're seeing really great results. It's just amazing, and I look forward to just eating, healthier food that has, less chemical input, less herbicides or less pesticides. I mean, we don't tell the farmer what to do. We literally just tell the farmer, continue your normal operation. Whatever you normally do, continue, and then they decide if whatever changes they want to make. But little by little, they're reporting back to us that they're spending less money on other inputs because, it's just not needed. And that's a transition that they don't get that advice from us because we're not in a position to give them any advice when it comes to their farm. I don't think, the truth be told is, I don't think anyone is in the position to give a farmer advice on his farm. Nobody knows his farm better than him. Yeah. So I would never give him advice. I can only give him advice on on our technology and how we can help.
Yep.
And then them decide for themselves, how good it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Well, first of all, Frank, too, I'd love to explore a conversation outside of this with you on how I could help bridge the connection, because we work with a multitude of farms and only growing. And so I would love to support you in that any way we can work together as organizations. But what I'd love for you to do is break this down for us a little bit. So let's say you're a vegetable production farm or an orchard, vineyard, or any of that nature. You have an irrigation system, obviously. Unless you have like a backyard garden of like an 8x10 bed, you have some type of irrigation system, right, in play. And so walk that through. Like, how does the technology hook into the irrigation, and what is the power behind the technology that creates the boosting of the crop yield?
Okay, so the technology is made of a certain number of microtransmitters and a certain power level of these microtransmitters that are custom designed and fit based on the farm's size, the amount of water that they pump annually, the size of their pipe. There's a few questions, some information that we gather from the farmer, which every farmer can easily answer.
Sure.
We get that information, and then we custom design a microtransmitter installation for them. If they have a system that is, if they have an irrigation system that is 4-inch pipe or smaller, okay, we have pre-built pipes, okay, of different magnitudes to service any farm that has a 4-inch pipe or smaller. So we can just ship them the pipe and they can install it themselves. And it's that simple. If they are 4 inches and higher, but they have a particular type of installation, or they just have bigger pipes, then what we do is we train up a local irrigation company to do the installation for us. Normally, we work with their installer. So if they have an irrigation company that they buy their equipment from, or they normally hire to do their work, we'll ask them, hey, who do you trust? Who do you normally work with? And they'll tell us, John Doe Irrigation. Great. We'll call them and say, how would you like to get trained up and certified in doing our installations and get paid for doing these installations? And who's going to turn down business, right? Especially in this day and age.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So they all get trained up. We train them up to do our installations. We send them out. They do the installation, and they really can't screw it up. It's almost impossible to make a mistake because the training is pretty simple. The installation is pretty simple. It's basic. Any irrigation mechanic can easily handle it. And I could train someone in a couple of hours on how to do an installation, right? But ultimately, after every installation, they turn on the system. They get a water sample in a little vial of water. It's probably about 10 drops of water. That's how small the vial is. And they ship it to our main office in Clearwater, Florida. And at that point, every week we have shipments going to Italy. So we send all those water samples that are clearly marked and identified to Italy. And the only place in the world that can verify that the frequencies are in the water and that the installation was properly done is our laboratory in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that is because the proprietary equipment that was built and designed to program these microtransmitters doesn't exist anywhere in the world. So we don't worry about someone trying to reverse engineer our technology or copy it. They can't do it. Nobody can do it because they don't have the equipment to do it. We had to build the equipment to program this technology. So it's almost like speaking our own language, having our own system. Nobody in the world has it, you know? So we don't worry about those things. Meanwhile, Italy then verifies that the technology was installed properly. They send us back a report. We notify the farmer. And then at that point, we pay the installer for a job well done. And that's the mechanics of how this works on the installation side and how we verify everything. As far as the technology itself, there's a piece of equipment out there that I'm going to try and explain. It's medical equipment. It's called a spectrophotometer. telepathy machine, right? It basically sends these frequencies, through your body, through an element, right? And then bounces back and registers information,
Mm-hmm.
okay, about that element. It'll tell you what's going on, what is in that element. It'll identify, different elements. It'll tell you, iron or calcium. It can identify thousands of different elements, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we kind of built a similar machine, except it measured processes.
Hmm.
It would identify processes. So when we were studying plants, not myself, but the inventor was studying plants for the last 20 years, he would study the processes of the plants, the process of absorbing water, the process of photosynthesis, the
Mm-hmm.
process of communication that the plant, the signals the plant puts out in order to know that it needs to absorb nutrients from the soil,
Yes.
So it started to measure all these different processes. And so those processes were then recorded. And then the inventor figured out a way to duplicate those recordings, and duplicate all of those processes. And so we have not just a combination of 3,000 frequencies or more, but we have a combination of the processes of those frequencies. So it's impossible to duplicate this. It's impossible to figure it out. It's just, it took 20 years to put it together, and millions and millions of dollars. But ultimately, what we do is we have these microtransmitters that send these standard processes out to any plant. Any plant. It just goes in the water. The water carries these signals to the plant, and the plant now decides on a minute by minute basis, day by day basis, hour by hour basis. It decides, oh, it's really sunny today. It does this naturally, right? But it's really sunny today, and I think I need more water. So it's going to start absorbing more water from the soil because it needs to survive. But the process that we put in the water makes that water absorption more efficient, makes it more easily able to absorb the water. And when it absorbs the water more easily, it's absorbing the nutrients more easily. So these 3,000 plus frequencies that are also processes are, decided upon. Like if the plant doesn't need it, it has no effect. They're there. They're in the water, and the water is in the soil. So if the plant needs it, it uses it. If it doesn't need it, it doesn't use it. It's really so simple. It's frightening. Developing it was not simple. The trials were not simple. The cost was not easy. But now that it's done, okay, there's a cost for delivering it, and there's a cost for verifying it, which is all the costs that go into these, sending these water samples to Italy and make sure that it's running properly. And what we do is, as a quality control measure, every 6 months, if you're one of our farmers, every 6 months, we gather a water sample from your farm and we send it to Italy to make sure that 6 months later, it's still working perfectly. And if anything changes, we will replace the system. It's all about quality control, making sure that we're always delivering, what we promised to the farmer for the plants.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of fun lately. We've been having a lot of fun. Plus, I get to keep a promise that I made to my mom. And when I started the story, I said it was bittersweet. Okay. My mom lived an additional 7 years.
Wow.
So, and she never ever had another congestive heart failure attack. And the doctors in New York considered her a medical miracle, But at the end of the day, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, my mom was, getting ill again and getting weak pretty quickly. And I said to her, hey, you want to go back to Italy? And she said, no, I'm ready now. Where she wasn't ready 5.5 years earlier. She said, no, I'm ready now. And I said, you sure? It could be a long haul. You don't know. You could be like this for a while. And she's like, no, I'm ready now. And I said, okay. So my mom went like that for about a year. And November 4th of 2020, she passed. And it was good to have her around, and it was good to have her for an extra 7 years, and I felt blessed. And I made her a promise, before she went. And I said, Mom, I'm gonna continue working with the farmers, and I'm gonna continue to deliver what I promised, and we're gonna make your discovery, because I would never discovered this if it wasn't for her, right?
Yes.
We're gonna make your sacrifice, a very worthwhile one. She had a smile on her face when I told her that. So
that is beautiful, man. I love how that story actually built to what you're doing in the world, your mission. And I was listening to you too, Frank. I was like, really, to break this down in an easy concept, we as human beings struggle to really understand our own body makeups, our own compounds, because we're all molecules and everything all put together, right? And so when we first learn about our own selves and we start to surround ourselves with the environment and the food that our own body needs, that's exactly what you're doing for the plants. Like, the plants are already naturally trying to figure out how they're supposed to process and grow. You're putting the capability for them to do that the most efficient way through the sound frequency technology. And so you're helping the plant do what we try to do as human beings every day, which is, what should I really be feeding my body, and what should I really be doing?
Exactly. And I got a real cool story to tap into just what you said. I don't know how much time we have.
Yeah,
we've got time.
Okay, I'll make it as brief as possible. But the inventor, he's a medical researcher. His entire purpose in life is to help mankind live longer, live healthier. And that was his entire purpose. And his name is Fulvio Baumelli. Okay, an amazing man. Okay, and anyone who wants to look him up, it's spelled Fulvio, 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 and Baumelli is Balmelli. Okay, so Fulvio, his entire purpose is health. So he developed this so that we could have healthier plants, so we could eat healthier food, so that we could have healthier bodies. That was the basis. Remember, this came out of a medical center in Como, Italy. So what happened was, I just delivered him this amazing news, literally about 3.5 weeks ago, right? And he was so excited because it aligns with his purpose, right? So there was a farmer, a potato grower in Peru, that purchased the technology from us. And he said, look, I'm only buying it for my potato farm, but I have to give you the measurements of water volume and everything for the entire field, because on one half of the field is the potatoes that I'm growing, and that's what I'm going to make money on when I sell the potatoes. On the other half of the field, through the flood irrigation, it's just growing the grass that feeds the cows. And I'm not going to make any money on the grass, so I'm not going to pay for that water, for that system. So we knew that we were going to have to build a special system that was going to cost us more money, but it was going to deliver, at least for the potatoes. Well, 30 days after we installed, 30 days. This is January, okay? 30 days after we installed, it was like mid-January. So it was mid-December. So mid-January, 30 days later, he reports to our sister company and partner in South America that his 24 cows that were eating the grass that was being nurtured and fed through our water, right, were now producing 50 liters of milk extra per day and the milk was better quality milk.
Oh, sure.
The guy went and tested the milk because he saw that it looked a little different. It was better fat content, better quality, right? So we said, okay, keep an eye on and tell us what else happens. The following month, it went from 50 to 80 liters.
Yes.
Okay, so then he tells us, by the way, I figured out that I'm going to make more money with the milk. Right? So now he really made out like a bandit because the potatoes is like completely for free because he's making all this money with the milk.
Yeah.
Right? It gets better. In March, mid-March, he reports the cows are now up to 140 liters of extra milk per day. These 24 cows. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he's completely blown away. And he made this amazing video. It's in Spanish, but he made this amazing video. My partner in South America got really smart. He ordered to do an analysis on the grass as compared to the grass that was much further away on the same field, but further away and not receiving the water from that trough, right? From that flooding. And so they compared it, where the other cows were eating. And so they compared it, and we got higher nutrient content, all kinds of parameters. I'm waiting for the translation so I can actually communicate it better, but we're waiting for the results to be translated.
Yeah.
And so it's exciting because that was the intention of the inventor, that we start eating better quality food, more nutritious food, and we just are naturally healthier.
Yeah. Well, two things in there, Frank. Ecology. So we brought on Joel Saladin, who's a world-renowned farmer in Virginia there, and we talked a lot at length in ecology, which is what's the entire ecosystem of your farm, right? And so to consider just the potatoes when really it's everything, right? It's what's happening on the other side of the farm that kind of works as a system. What the second part I wanted to call out is there another avenue of your business there? Because maybe it's not just the plant producing of the fruit itself or the vegetable, but actually like helping revitalize lands for grass-fed cows.
We see that. We definitely see that. But our focal point is just helping the farmers, and ecologically the lands are going to start improving. We've seen that in all our soil tests, because listen, the farmers are smart. These are smart people, I mean, when we tell them, look, just do some soil testing and notice the difference between one side of your farm to the other side of the farm. And when they start doing that, they start realizing, wow, this side of the farm where the water was implemented is healthier. What they call it's called a CEC test that we recommend. Okay. It stands for cation exchange capacity test. It doesn't cost much money, but it measures all these minerals and elements, activity that's in the soil. And when they start looking at the soil and they're saying, wait a minute, my soil is this much stronger, than this soil. And, then why should I be adding all these other, I don't need all this additional, fertilizer, and I don't need all additional stuff, and it's purely their decision. We never tell them what to do, but these guys are built to be very efficient, to save money wherever they can and deliver a good product. So eventually, when they start cutting back on these things, it's good for the states, because a lot of states are complaining about having too much nitrogen in the water, and this has been a major complaint of the Environmental Control Board of most states, that there's too, and they're trying to look for a solution. I'm not giving them a direct solution. I'm giving them an indirect solution, because all I'm doing is helping the farmers. The waterways and the soils and the plants and the animals, everybody else is going to benefit, and that's the simplicity of it. It's like we do our part, everybody else will be doing their part.
I love it, because most of the time we always think input, but that's not always input, right? I mean, there's something going on with the soil and the plant life that needs to be revitalized. It's not necessarily I need to add nitrogen all the time is not the solution. So I love that. That's sweet.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
cool.
you.
Frank, I thank you so much for just expounding on this amazing technology and how you're, helping fulfill the inventor's mission and and vision for what this was about. And your story about, going to Southern Italy to your grandmother's farm, taking your kids, then taking your mom and then discovering this technology. I'm kind of curious, like, why is it that you chose this specific technology to help farmers? Like, what was going on in your head? Like, what were you thinking? Like, why did you ultimately decide, like, yes, this is what I really want to invest millions in, even though you didn't know that was what it was going to take? But why were you so drawn to that?
That's a really good question. A little bit of a long story to explain it, but I'll answer that question. So my background as an accountant was I'm a defense accountant, right? I defend companies and individuals, and we have, like I said, a major track record in doing this. We've never lost a case, but that led me early on in my career to become what's called a forensic accountant, to investigate crimes or track down the criminals when partners are fighting or someone's taking money. And it's interesting work. It's super interesting work. So I became really good at forensic accounting, and again, never lost a case. I made a lot of lawyers look really good in the courtroom because I prepared the case for them. And I even co-authored a book about 5 years ago with 16 other top CPAs in the country, and everyone had their own custom cover. So that's my book. My chapter is on the undeniable alibi, right? And I'm sorry, the unbreakable alibi is my chapter. And I wrote about how to help defend yourself. Well, about 8 years ago, before this happened with my mom, I turned around and I kept looking at the quality of our food in the supermarket, because I'm always cooped up in my office. But I would go to Costco, and I would start buying my food at Costco. I actually found that Costco had better quality with their food, And you look at some of those labels, and they're coming from outside the country, and it makes you think, like, does everything come from outside the country? You start asking these questions. I'm like, something is weird. We have the greatest farmers in the world. We have one of the biggest farming operations, internationally. We are like the leaders in farming. Why are we getting our food from outside the country? Why are we not supporting our own farmers?
Yes.
I asked myself a lot of questions, and as a forensic accountant, they said there's something that, 1 and 1 is adding up to 11. It's not, it's that way. It's not. It's like, it doesn't make sense. It's just not adding up properly. It's and I started looking at it like, I think I'm going to start doing some investigation work, just like for fun. I'm going to start investigating, apply my knowledge, and I'm going to start investigating the agricultural industry. And so I started doing some independent research, and then, like a year later, 9 months later, what happened with my mom happened with my mom, and you know the story. So obviously, when I was in Italy, and I found the technology that could help the agricultural industry worldwide, and I saw the inventor's passion was to make mankind healthier, and he made my mom healthier. His passion infused my passion to investigate the industry and find out, why do farmers not have better technology or better resources so that they can make more money and provide better products? And why are we importing all our stuff from all these different countries? And so I made his passion, combined with my passion that I had started a year earlier. And I said, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to change my entire life. I'm already a great CPA. I need a bigger challenge, a bigger game. So I turned over my accounting firm to my staff. I moved to Florida, and the rest is history. I mean, does that answer your question,
Yeah,
Nick?
yes. It sounded like you needed a bigger bully to go fight, so I love it.
Yeah, I needed a bigger bully to go fight. I'm going to tell you something. It was good for me also because it brought me back to my roots too. My grandfather was an inventor of farm tools in southern Italy.
I love it.
My grandfather, they had about 12 years ago, maybe 10 or 12 years ago, they took this building, small building. It was like a 2 to 3 car garage size, if you can, get the dimensions right. It was like 2.5 cars. It would fit 2.5 cars. They turned that small building in the center of town into a museum dedicated to my grandfather on my mother's side, and his name was Nicola Bruno. And Nicola was the inventor of tools that helped the local farmers. And the only reason he was able to do it is because, he was one of the more educated, people in the town, and he was able to read and write. And what he was doing was he was reading, articles and newspaper things, articles and magazines, whatever was available at the time about, inventions that were coming in the farming industry, that were being used in other countries. And what he did was he's like, okay, I can build that. So he started building things that were similar, and he started building tools and inventing equipment that was good for the local farmers in southern Italy. And that was also an inspiration for me. I mean, I'm not expecting a museum to be dedicated to anyone in my family anytime soon, but the bottom, or ever for that matter. But to know that there was a small, little, tiny, cute museum, dedicated in Longobardi, Calabria, Italy. If you look on a map, if you look at your shoe, Longobardi is located on the curve of the boot. Right where you tie your shoelaces, that's where the town is located. And there's a little museum dedicated to my grandfather.
Wow.
So I feel honored, like I'm following in his footsteps.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Frank, and that you answered that beautifully, and that is amazing that it just how all of that has aligned for you to be inspired and have the passion that you do, and to even have it go back to your grandfather, which is unbelievable. So you never know, there might be a museum in your future. You never know, Frank. So
I'm not looking forward to that, but I'm not even thinking about that. I tell you what I was thinking about doing is on the website, putting part of the story, right? And I got some pictures of my grandfather's museum. Just because you're true. It was an inspiration. It was definitely an inspiration, So
that's awesome.
And I didn't get a chance to really grow up with my grandfather because unfortunately he had an accident with some of the equipment that he was selling to farmers and to the community, and he passed when I was just a young lad, maybe like 4 or 5 years old. So he remembers me. I don't necessarily remember him, but some good pictures of him. He's a good-looking guy.
Absolutely, you got to share that on your site for sure. 100%.
Absolutely. So, do any of your listeners have any questions? I mean,
no questions come in. It depends. I mean, we have people watch live sometimes. Most predominantly, they follow the podcast or the show, but no questions at this time. But Frank, we have really loved having you on. I love your energy, man. It's amazing. I do want to connect with you after this to see how we can help you connect with various farms.
Absolutely.
And is there any last thought you want to share with the audience before I kick it over to Nick in the kitchen?
I want to say, number one, thank you for having me on the show. All right. I really appreciate it. And this has been a lot of fun. It actually de-stresses me when I get to talk about, just what we've been through to get to this point.
Yes.
But what I do want to share is that the more farmers that we get to help, and the more farmers that we get on board with this, the more people we get to help with good quality food, and it's something that's it's just going to happen. Nothing's stopping this train. it's moving forward, and I'm looking forward to bringing better quality food and helping farmers do better. Eventually it'll be all American grown, and things will be the way they should be, and we're kind of doing this for other countries too, like they should be growing and supporting themselves, so it's everyone here loves what they're doing,
Yes. I love it. Well, and for our audience out there, I did share Harvest Harmonics website, so we encourage you to check that out. Follow them on social media as well. They're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can follow Frank on LinkedIn. We'll chat in or provide all that detail on the podcast information as well. Yes. But really enjoyed this, Frank. You and I have a lot of very similar missions around local food systems, and I love that tremendously. So thank you again.
I want to hear all about that. I definitely want to hear all about that. And I'm not big on making announcements about harvestharmonics.com and the telephone number and all that stuff. It's like when people want to find us, they'll find us. We're out there.
Sure. I love that. All right. Well, I'm going to take it over to Nick in the kitchen. We're going to invite you to stick around and watch him if you have the time. He's going to whip something up. All right. All right, Nick. You're up, buddy. What you got for us today?
Yes. Well, first and foremost, thank you again, Frank, for joining us. And, the work that you're doing, Frank, and the work that farmers are doing and the work that you're obviously doing to help farmers, make humans healthier, right? I think what I'm really present to here right now is just, as a chef or as someone who is going to provide food, like that is the intention that I always want to have when I'm serving food for myself, preparing food for someone else, is I want the best quality. And a lot of times, it's sort of an afterthought, like, how did this food arrive to me? So it's now I'm growing in my awareness in just how interconnected, the health of the human body is connected to the health of the farmer, to the health of the world. And so I have this idea that the world is, the universe is contained in a grain of rice. And now I have a new distinction of like, how are the microtransmitters helping that rice?
Yes.
So thank you, Frank, and just for that awareness. And so with all that being said,
my pleasure, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. With all that being said, we're going to do a real simple, like a lunch idea, right? Or like a mid-afternoon snack. And what that is a smoked salmon egg salad with a little cilantro. We're going to do a little chandelier pepper cutting again, Troy, your favorite. And then, we're just going to plate it up, and you can serve that over a bed of greens. You could eat it with some tortilla chips, crackers, whatever is your fancy. But the first thing we got to do is we got to learn how to hard boil some eggs. So when, because that's one of your main ingredients. So when you hard boil eggs, okay, so what you'll do is you'll obviously want to submerge your eggs. And then here's the simple rule. So once you get these going, once your water comes to a boil, you will boil them for 5 minutes. And then once that 5 minutes is done, you cut the heat and just let your eggs sit for 5 minutes. That's as simple as it comes with hard-boiled eggs. Then you just pull them, drain them, cool them off as best you can. And then you come to, you have your hard-boiled egg. And one of the things I do in my fridge when I have hard-boiled eggs is to identify which eggs are hard-boiled and which ones are not. Because I've made the mistake of mixing them, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is a hard-boiled egg, and I go to smash it, and it's a raw egg, and I'm like, oops. So anyway, so I will have some hard-boiled, but 5 minutes boiling, 5 minutes resting, cool them, and then put them in a container or your carton that says hard boiled on it. So, thank God this is hard boiled. No, I'm kidding. So there's no real, I don't know. I've studied this. I've tried to find the most efficient way to peel hard-boiled eggs. Sometimes they come out really nice. Sometimes the shell sticks to it. I still have yet to quite understand the mechanics and the process of hard-boiling eggs. We'll see how this one goes. This one looked pretty good. So,
nice. Been there,
yeah. Sometimes it's a mess, right? I'm like, how did this happen? You know, like I've tried with like really fresh eggs that I just bought at the store, and that didn't work. Then I do it with old ones, and it works perfect. And so I don't know. It just kind of hard-boiled eggs have a mind of their own. So, all right. So the equipment and the ingredients that we're going to use. So we're going to mix everything in a metal kitchen bowl. I've got some smoked salmon. Obviously, we have our hard-boiled eggs. I've got a little cilantro that we're going to throw in there, little red pepper action, and then some salt and pepper. And then for today, I bought some plantain tortilla chips that you could use that to sort of help with your meal. So where we're at right now is prepping out the pepper. So I'm going to move a little closer because I know Troy really likes this trick.
I do.
The chandelier cut on the pepper.
That's for the kids.
This is great. So, all right. So the chandelier cut is a method that exists out there so that your pepper does not splay or spray the pepper seeds all over your cutting board. So how I'm going to start is I'm going to point the stem towards my belly button. Okay, I'm going to start with it flat so it's not rolling around. I'm going to start with my knife, and then I'm going to come to like a 45-degree angle, and then I'm going to cut a circumference around the pepper, and ta-da, you have yourself a chandelier cut pepper. And you can tell what, Troy, what's clean? What's not on my cutting board?
No seeds.
No seeds, exactly. So, but you can save. You want to use total utilization of everything. So I want to just sort of trim the outsides of that pepper. Okay, and then right on. So what we're going to want to do next is we can use these pieces, but we're just going to get a couple strips. And we're going to dice them up.
Nick, have you ever done a dish where you decorated the plate with the chandeliers?
Have I ever? Yes. These can be, yes, you can, like, if you did like a vegetable tray, they're kind of nice to sort of have as decorations. Yes.
Just curious.
Great question, though. Total utilization. All right. So I sliced up some of those peppers. I'm going to try to go real small, fine dice because we're putting this into a little salad. So,
I cook from time to time, and actually, my wife wants me to cook every Thursday night. So this is.
Here you go. You might have yourself a meal here for you.
No, I'm loving where this is going, just because I've wrestled with peppers in the past.
Yes. Yeah, they could be a nightmare.
Yeah, that was pretty smooth.
So I'm going to start with the red pepper, and I'm going to use the back edge of my knife to transfer my contents from the cutting board into a bowl or to a pan, because I don't ever want to use the sharp edge of the knife because I don't want to ruin the integrity of the blade. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just use a paring knife, and I'm going to just I'm going to dice up the hard-boiled egg here. And again, there's no real method here. I'm just trying not to cut my finger. No, just real simple.
It's pretty awesome how you rotate your finger like that. That's fun to watch.
Well, one of the things that funny story, since we talked about moms today, my mom is awesome and she's a really wonderful cook. Efficiency is not her game. I'll say that. And there's no knock to my mother, but every time I have her, she's helped me out with a lot of cooking projects and stuff. But the way she like cuts things, she always uses the paring knife. Like she would have paring knifed what she would have done. She would have taken that pepper and she would have done this for each and every single one of them. And I love my mom, but efficiency is not her thing. She's like, this is just what I like. And so no knock to her. So there's 100 ways to skin a cat, right? So, but if efficiency is your game, do it like I do. All right. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that smoked salmon. I'm going to prep that up. So I'm just going to give it a little slice down the middle. And this is just store-bought smoked salmon. Again, I'm kind of going for, little smaller slices, little smaller pieces. And then we'll transfer that into our big bowl here.
Using the back of the knife, I see. Awesome.
Using the back of the knife. Yes, sir. All right. And now what's going to happen is we're going to take a little mayonnaise. So I usually use my own homemade mayo. I don't have that today, but maybe we'll do that for a future episode, how to whip up your own homemade mayo. But this was, so we're just going to use a little store-bought mayo. Nothing wrong with that. Just eyeballing here. And then I'm going to take a little salt and pepper. And then we're going to give this a good stir to kind of get that nice egg salad texture and look going.
That looks amazing.
And I just love, like, you can use smoked salmon if you had some salmon that you just roasted in the oven. This has got a lot of omega-3s, and I think it's a very, you don't need a lot to feel like you are full with this type of meal. So, and just the red peppers in there kind of give it a nice little sweet crunch. You could also, when I'm making salads, one of the things I really like to think about is one, I'm looking for the flavor profiles of the fat, acid, salt, and sweet, but I like texture, right? So when I make a chicken salad, I always like to have pecans or sunflower seeds, something in there to kind of give a crunch. Whenever I'm composing a meal, I like to have different types of textures going on. So with the egg and the salmon being relatively soft and malleable, I want something in there that is a little crunchy. So that's why the pepper's in there. All right, so we're gonna do this here. So we're gonna plate it. So this could be like a little nice afternoon snack that you can prep up for your kids or whoever. And then you can just kind of decorate your plate with these cool little tortilla chips.
I'm officially starving now.
Nick always leaves us with this amazing dish that, he gets to eat, but we all have to watch.
We just have to watch. Yes. That is true, Troy. Yes.
It could be worse.
To show up in a cooler box.
It could be worse. You could send a video of him eating it.
All right, so then we're just gonna top this off with a little bit of fresh chopped cilantro to add a little bit of herbal flavoring to this. And we could also, so there you have it. You have a little bit, oh my gosh, nobody saw the end there. I'm so sorry. But so there you go. You have a little bit of a salmon egg salad snack. Again, these could be served with tortilla chips. You could also serve this, on a piece of toast, fresh sliced bread. You could also do this on some mixed greens, right? So there's a lot of different options that one can go with this. But yeah, real super simple, super healthy.
I'm going to make that Sunday morning for my family.
Yeah.
Yes.
That looked like a lot of fun,
Nice work, Nick.
Yeah, very well.
One of these times I'm going to have the similar dish with you on screen here, and you can pretend to hand it to me, and I can pretend to eat it.
Yeah, we got to figure that out where, I go like this, and then Troy grabs it, and then
that would actually be a nice little trick.
Who suggested that? Nick, was that Kelly Maxwell? Was that our guest that suggested that?
No, that was Voyage Bowls. That was.
That's right. Yeah, that would be. I think we should do that. That would be really cool.
Nick and Troy, it has been an immense pleasure being on your show. Unfortunately, I have to prepare for my next.
Yes, absolutely. We're wrapping up.
Jump. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. And yes, let's definitely stay in communication. Let's stay in touch. All right.
Absolutely. Thanks, Frank. Have a great day. Thank you again.
Ciao, ciao. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Nick, as always, for the awesomeness in the kitchen. And hopefully the listeners, I know I did, walked away with an awesome dish, not only for myself and my wife, but if your kids are looking for a healthy snack. So thanks, Nick. I really appreciate that, man.
You're welcome.
If you're just joining us and you just missed that, the show, we had Frank Arlia Jr. on, who's the CEO of Harvest Harmonics, which is a very interesting technology to help with plant boosting through what, in a simple terms, is sound frequency, or basically technology that helps plants thrive better. So it's kind of fascinating technology coming out of Italy. And so we hope that you'll check that out. And then also awesomeness in the kitchen with Nick. So we've really enjoyed anybody that's watched the show today, that will watch us on YouTube later or through the podcast. We appreciate all the listeners, and we really do this to have fun, but we also do it because we hope that there's value in there for you and your family. So thanks again, and we can't wait to do our next episode, which is actually this week, with functional medicine doctor, Dr. Stephen Cabral, the author of The Rain Barrel Effect. And I know Nick and I are super excited for this one. There's a lot of really cool information in there, and I know that the audience or you guys will enjoy this as well. So we will see you for episode 22 with Dr. Stephen Cabral.
22, beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful day. Thank you again, Troy. Such a pleasure, as always.